Today I am filming with one of the most iconic BMWs of all time. This. Yes, that's right. You know BMW from the M3 and the M5 and from luxury SUVs and high-performance sports cars, but throughout the 1950s and 1960s, they built this, the Isetta. It is by far the most ridiculous BMW ever manufactured, and today, I'm going to show you why. First, a little history lesson. The Isetta was developed by ISO, an Italian company that made scooters and refrigerators. After making the Isetta, ISO wanted to make a sports car, so they sold the rights and tooling to BMW, who was interested because German rules at the time let people drive tiny cars like the Isetta using only a motorcycle driver's license. That's the same reason why Messerschmitt, the airplane manufacturer, built a tiny car of its own. These days, the laws have changed, society has moved on, BMW has evolved dramatically, and you can't help but look at the Isetta and think that it is truly one of the most absurd automobiles ever created. Now, I've summed up the Isetta's crazy quirks if you click the link below for my column on autotrader.com/oversteer, but today I'm also going to show them to you. So here are all the Isetta's weird quirks and features. I'll start with maybe the Isetta's most distinctive feature, its door. Yes, door singular. There's only one, and it's in the front. Open it up, and there's the seats. That's how you get in an Isetta. So what happens if you get in an accident in an Isetta and the door is broken and you can't get out? Well, what do you think the sunroof's for? Speaking of the door, another feature that I absolutely love when you open the door is the fact that the steering wheel comes forward to let you out. A lot of modern cars do that. You open the door and the steering wheel whirs so that you can easily get in. And the Isetta, it's just because the steering wheel is attached to the door. And since we're talking about the Isetta's door, this doesn't shut or latch like a normal car door. Instead, it shuts and latches like an old-time refrigerator. You shut it, and then you have to twist the latch in order to make sure it's actually closed. Now, in back, I want to clear up one myth I often hear about the Isetta. This is not a three-wheeled car. There are two wheels in the front, you saw them, and there are also two wheels in the back. Although some companies who made the Isetta, not BMW, made a three-wheeled version, the BMW versions all have four wheels for that added stability. Since we're back here, let's talk about the fueling situation. The fuel goes right here for this rear point of the car, which I'm sure is very safe in a rear-end collision. To add fuel, you twist this cool little cap with the BMW logo on it, which I kind of wish all BMWs had. It's an old school feature. Not quite as cool as the fact that the fuel tank can only hold about 5 gallons of gas, although you don't really burn gas all that quickly in one of these. Obviously, that raises the question, which engine is in the Isetta? Well, it's in here. Obviously, that means it's not going to be very big, and in fact, it isn't. This is a later Isetta model, from when the engine size increased from 250 cc's all the way to 300 cc's, which also came with a horsepower increase. Older ones had only 12 horsepower. This one is a hot rod with 13. More engine hilarity comes when we start talking about the Isetta's keys. Now, each Isetta came with 3 keys. There was one for the starter, one for the door, as if anyone was ever going to steal it, and also one for the hood, and they were all different. Now, the hood key is the strangest. It's not even really a key. It's more like a screwdriver, and you stick it into the little hood lock and twist, and twist, and twist, and twist, and twist. The theory here, I guess, was they didn't want anybody to steal your engine or parts from your engine, as if there were multiple parts in this engine. All right, we got it off. And now we can see the glorious 13 horsepower, 300 cc Isetta engine. Back up front, you might be wondering what the Isetta weighs. The answer is 770 pounds, which means a 200-pound person getting inside this thing increases the weight by about 30%. Another way to demonstrate exactly how light this car is, look at this. I'm moving it, and I get the sense that if the handbrake was off, I could just lift it up by these things and carry it around like a shopping cart. All right, now it's time to check out the Isetta's interior quirks. I will do that by attempting to climb inside of it, even though I'm 6'3". Nice and comfy. Actually, there is more passenger room inside the Isetta than you might expect. In fact, You could probably get 2 people in here if they were fairly friendly with each other, but you can't say the same about cargo room. That's because the Isetta has no trunk, and the only interior storage is in 2 places. There's a shelf in back where you can put stuff completely unrestrained, and also there's a little cargo pouch here on the door. That's it. Beyond the storage situation, climb into the Isetta and you'll immediately realize there's a lot of interesting stuff to see. Let me take you on a little tour. Here's what the view looks like from inside the Isetta. The first thing you do, you look down and you see the speedometer and a rather helpful diagram of the shifter. I say helpful because the shifter is on your left side and it just sort of sticks there. It's up to you to kind of figure out where everything is. On the steering column itself, you have controls for the headlights, and there's the ignition. There's also the control for the wiper. We'll get to that in a second. Down on the steering wheel, this lever doesn't really do anything that we can figure out. However, the lever over here controls the turn signals, which are just about the most pathetic turn signals you can imagine. Also, when you put on the turn signal switch, a little light comes on in here to let you know that the signal is on. Very helpful. Less common over here is the diagram that shows you how to work the choke. Some older cars have a choke and you have to put it on and then gradually put it off in order to drive it. The choke diagram is right next to the heater diagram. Yes, that's right, the heat. This car has one single heating vent and it's located under the seat and it pushes warm air out into the cabin. There's also a little tab on top of the heating vent. Pull it out, more heat. Push it back in, less heat. Pull it out, more heat. Back in, less heat. Hey, it beats having no climate control at all. Just barely. Now, the choke isn't the only unusual procedure required to start the car. Before you can start it, you have to move the fuel switch, inexplicably located behind the seat, from off to on. When you run out of gas, move it over to the reserve tank. By the way, the seat itself has a bit of an Easter egg. Reach in and, well, you can bring it right forward and, well, there's your spare tire. On the floor on your left side, you'll also find the parking brake, which works just like parking brake in any normal car. There's also a windshield defogger. It's shaped just like the heater and it unceremoniously shoots air right at the windshield. For some modicum of comfort inside the Isetta, you can open the windows, push this little button to release them, and then they slide. Less generous is the size of the rear view mirrors. The interior one isn't really all that big, and the exterior one, well, reasonably sizable. It's only a single. There isn't one on the passenger side. As for the horn, it's normally located here, but inexplicably a previous owner located it down here on the steering column, which is a horrible place for it because my knee is constantly bumping into it as I shift, and therefore the horn is sounding as I drive down the street. But back to the windshield wiper. In order to turn it on, you press a little lever at the base of the windshield and, well, but the Isetta's absurdity can only really be touched on when it's sitting still. To experience it in full, you have to drive it, and so I'm going to do that right now. Despite the fact that at 89 inches in length, the Isetta is 2 feet shorter than a Smart 4.2. With only 13 horsepower, that means it has less power than every single John Deere riding mower currently in production. I'm serious, even the base models. And now I'm going to take it out and drive it around on the roads here in the Philadelphia suburbs, where this car was loaned to me by a viewer named David, who runs a dealer called Automobili Limited. Now, this car comes from David's personal collection. Here goes. All right, the Isetta. I went for the seatbelt. All right, I'm in first. First. Okay, here we go. Come on. The Isetta was having some problems, but eventually, with a combination of the choke, the ignition, and sheer luck, I got it running. Oh my God, this thing is insane. You can feel every single thing that is occurring. It's so loud, it's so crashy. This is the craziest thing I've ever driven, bar none. It's so loud in here, and the horn situation doesn't help. It's just constantly honking. The driving position actually isn't so bad, and the pedals are reachable, and I've got pretty big feet. I can turn the wheel about 4 inches and nothing happens. Literally not one thing occurs. 4 inches. This car is so tiny. Oh my God, the whole car is right here. Oh, we're just moving along, no problem. Foot on the floor. Oh, it's starting to cut off when I put my foot on the floor. Okay, not foot on the floor. I got great visibility. I got the windows open. It's a great day here. Oh no, a hill. We got a hill coming. I can't believe how tiny it is in here. There could be another passenger though, and I really think I could get someone else in here if they were crazy enough to come for a ride. This is the stupidest thing I've ever driven. I have driven a lot of cars now. The brakes leave a lot to be desired. A lot. My knee keeps hitting the horn because the horn is mounted on the steering column. There's a guy behind me with his hazard lights on. He knows I'm a hazard. He is right. I am a hazard. It says I'm doing 40, but I assume that's kilometers. The speed limit is 40 miles an hour. There's no way I'm doing 40 miles an hour. It feels like I'm going 200 because the road is right in front of me and the whole cabin is shaking and I can hear the engine so loudly. I feel bad for everybody on the road with me today. This car is incredible. The steering has so much play. The body roll is immense, which doesn't even make sense because the car is so small. Oh God, the brakes. I'm coming up to a downhill stop sign is the scariest thing in an Isetta. It just hates to go up a hill. I assume it has to do with the fuel system being gravity fed. It really doesn't want to be involved with hills. Really, really, really doesn't want to be involved with hills. All right.
I would find out momentarily exactly how much the Isetta hated hills.
This hill might spell the death of this car. It's just too big. It's just too big. I got about 1,000 cars backed up behind me. Oh, Legacy GT, you must appreciate this thing. I'm stuck on a hill. I made it about halfway up, but there's no way I go any further. I'm in the lowest possible gear. I'm gonna give it a shot with just a ton of gas, but I don't think it's gonna work. It just isn't gonna happen. I'm flooring it right now and the car is not moving an inch.
And that meant it was time to begin reversing down the hill to a turnout at the bottom. With a small shoulder on the road, it was terrifying.
I just gotta hope that none of these people coming up hit me.
But eventually, I got it down the hill, and the Isetta was parked in a rather fitting spot. Next, the Isetta was strapped to a tow vehicle, and then I became the only person in world history ever to ride on an Isetta as it was being pulled behind a Range Rover Classic. And after just a minute, the Isetta arrived back at Automobili Limited.
So I survived driving the Isetta, barely, but did you see me in this thing? It's crazy, it's ridiculous. Modern BMWs might have more performance and more gadgets and more power and better equipment, but this thing is by far the most unique car BMW has ever made. I drive a lot of cars in a lot of places, good and bad, and I rarely have the chance to drive something this crazy, but I'm thrilled I was able to experience the absurdity of the Isetta. Automakers take note. If you're trying to figure out a solution for your hoods, this is one.